The old veteran, his face weathered by years of service, walks slowly into the quiet room, his hand trembling slightly as he reaches for the leash hanging by the door. It's a moment like no other. His loyal companion, a large German shepherd with a coat of silver streaks, sits by his side, watching with soulful eyes. Together they had faced countless battles, not just on the field, but in the day-to-day struggle to survive. Today, however, something feels different. For years, this dog had been his partner, his protector, his family. But now a stark reality looms. This will be their last walk together. Time had taken its toll, and the dog's once vibrant spirit had begun to fade, along with the strength that had earned him the title of war dog. With each step toward the door, the weight of their shared history presses down. But as the leash clicks, a final question lingers in the air. Will this be the last time he looks at his friend, his protector? The soldier, now in his twilight years, stands at the gate of the shelter, his heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and fear. The last time he saw his companion, they were inseparable. His partner in battle, his source of comfort, and the only one who understood the silent weight of his pain. But time has not been kind to either of them. The dog, once agile and sharp-eyed, now struggles to walk, his coat dulled and body frail. The soldier's aging hands shake as they reach for the gate, a steady stream of memories flooding his mind. Inside the shelter, a group of dogs lounges, some playful, others more subdued. But when the soldier enters, all eyes turn to him, and his gaze locks with one dog in particular, the German shepherd. He knows the dog instantly, but the dog does not recognize him. The years of separation have blurred the once vivid memories, and now the dog merely stares with uncertain eyes. His heart skips a beat, a painful lump forming in his throat. He calls the dog's name, a soft whisper in the air, hoping the familiar sound of his voice will trigger a response. But the dog's ears twitch, and for a moment the soldier feels the sting of rejection. The bond that once tethered them together feels so far away, like a dream slipping through his fingers. As the soldier reaches out to pat the dog's head, the dog flinches, stepping back, confused by the stranger who stands before him. The soldier watches in stunned silence, his emotions swirling: heartbreak, frustration, and confusion. He remembers the years of trust they built, the countless moments when the dog would lean against him, knowing he was safe. But now, the dog is distant, unfamiliar. In an effort to reconnect, the soldier takes out a familiar scent, a piece of his old uniform. He waves it near the dog, hoping the memory of their shared experiences will come rushing back. The dog sniffs the air, but there is no immediate recognition, no joy in his eyes, just curiosity and a hint of caution. The soldier's heart sinks even further. In the distance, an elderly volunteer watches the exchange, sensing the emotional weight of the moment. She approaches the soldier gently, speaking softly. "He's been through a lot," she says, her voice full of understanding. "He was in a special program. He's lost some of his memories." The soldier nods, his breath catching in his chest. He never imagined that he would be here, trying to reclaim a bond that had once been so strong, so undeniable. But the reality before him is painful. The dog no longer recognizes him. And worse, it seems as if the dog no longer feels the deep connection they once shared. The room feels heavy with silence as the soldier sinks to his knees, his emotions bubbling to the surface. The room is filled with reminders of their past. A collar that still bears the soldier's name, a patch from their old unit lying forgotten on the floor. Yet none of it brings the dog closer. The emotional barrier feels impossible to break. As the day stretches on, the soldier tries everything he can think of. He speaks softly to the dog, recounting the battles they fought together, the quiet nights spent in the barracks, and the moments of solace in the midst of chaos. His voice cracks as he says the words he never thought he would have to say. "I'm here. I've come back for you. Please remember me." In these quiet moments, the emotional stakes become clear. If the soldier cannot rekindle the bond with his dog, he risks losing not just the animal, but a part of himself. The last remaining connection to the time when things made sense, when they fought side by side and the world was a simpler place. For the dog, there is also much at stake. Without the recognition of the soldier, he may remain lost in his own confusion, never understanding the depth of the love and loyalty that existed between them. This is not just about two beings trying to reconnect. It is about reclaiming a piece of their past, a piece of themselves that has slipped away. As the scene unfolds, there are moments of small victories. The dog begins to remember some familiar sense, the faintest glimmer of recognition flickers in his eyes. But it is not enough. The soldier is left with a painful realization. He must work even harder to remind his old friend of the bond they once shared. This moment sets the stage for the emotional journey that lies ahead. The soldier must find a way to break through the emotional wall, even if it means facing his own fears and doubts along the way. The dog, too, must find his way back to the soldier, and only time will tell if the bond that once united them can be rekindled. The soldier returns to the shelter the following day, determined, despite the uncertainty that gnaws at him. His heart is heavy with the hope that today might be different. The dog's reaction yesterday, or lack thereof, has weighed on him more than he cares to admit. The emotional distance between them feels like an insurmountable wall, and the veteran wonders if it is possible to rebuild what they once had. The thought that the dog may never remember him, that their bond may be lost forever, is almost too painful to bear. Today he tries a new approach. Instead of relying on words, he focuses on the things that used to communicate their connection. He starts by whistling. It's a simple, high-pitched sound that they both knew well, one that had once echoed in the midst of chaos on the battlefield, signaling that they were both still alive and together. The dog pauses, ears perking slightly, as if a flicker of recognition stirs within him. He stands still for a moment, his eyes scanning the room. The soldier's breath catches in his throat. Could it be? The dog takes a few tentative steps toward him, his tail wagging cautiously. But the veteran's hope quickly deflates when the dog moves on, distracted by something else in the room. He watches, crestfallen, as the dog's attention drifts elsewhere. Despite the setback, the soldier refuses to give up. Each visit to the shelter brings a new wave of emotions. He feels the tension between hope and doubt pulling at him. He begins to remember his own service, the endless days spent away from home, and the moments of companionship that his dog had given him during those lonely times. The dog had been more than just a soldier's companion. He had been a friend, a confidant, a piece of home in the midst of war. And now, as the veteran watches the dog interact with others, the painful reality sets in. The dog is showing affection to the new volunteers, the ones who are not him. A deep sense of jealousy and heartache rises within him as he wonders if he will ever get that affection back. As the days pass, the dog seems more responsive to other people. A volunteer offers a treat, and the dog eagerly accepts, licking their hand with affection. The veteran's heart aches, and he cannot help but feel frustrated. Is the bond really gone? The dog's once unquestioning loyalty, which had been so apparent during their time together, now seems distant, as if it belongs to someone else. In these moments of frustration, the soldier battles his own doubts. He questions whether he is fooling himself, holding on to something that no longer exists. The dog's behavior, the distance, the indifference, weighs heavily on him. He wonders if he is being selfish for wanting the dog to remember him, for wanting to reclaim something that might be lost forever. However, the veteran refuses to let go, and deep inside, he holds on to a flicker of hope. He continues to visit the shelter, day after day, bringing with him small tokens from their past. A familiar scarf, a worn-out ball, his own scent. He watches the dog as he interacts with others, trying to find a moment, a sign, anything that proves the dog is still there beneath the surface. One afternoon, while sitting on a bench just outside the dog's pen, the soldier takes out an old photograph from his pocket. It is a picture of the dog, taken during their final moments together in the field. The dog had been sitting by his side, gazing into the distance, while the veteran had leaned against a crumbling wall. The photograph is worn, the edges frayed from years of handling. but the memory is clear in his mind. The calm after the storm, the quiet understanding between them. The veteran stares at the picture, a lump forming in his throat. He knows he will never forget that moment, but he is unsure if the dog will ever remember it. A voice interrupts his thoughts. The elderly volunteer who has been observing the veteran's efforts approaches him again, her expression gentle yet firm. "You know," she says, "dogs like him, they're special. They remember things in their own way, but they need time. It's not easy for them either." The soldier nods, taking in her words, but inside, he feels torn. He doesn't want time. He wants recognition. He wants the dog to remember him, to return to the way things used to be. As the week goes on, the veteran faces more small setbacks. One afternoon, while walking through the shelter, he sees the dog playing with a different volunteer. They are throwing a ball, and the dog leaps after it, full of life. The soldier watches in silence, a bitter taste rising in his mouth. Was this it? Had the dog found a new connection, one that could replace him? But then, on a quiet evening, something shifts. The veteran whistles again, this time more softly, as if speaking directly to the dog's heart. The dog pauses, looking in his direction. The soldier holds his breath, his heart pounding in his chest. Slowly, the dog walks toward him, his head slightly tilted, and stops just in front of him. For a moment, time seems to freeze. The soldier slowly reaches out his hand, hesitant, unsure if the dog will pull away again. But this time, the dog does not flinch. He leans into the soldier, his body relaxing as if he is remembering something deep inside. A small wave of emotion washes over the soldier, his eyes misting with relief. He kneels down to meet the dog's gaze, and for the first time in what feels like forever, he feels a spark of recognition. The dog's tail wags tentatively, and the soldier smiles, his heart swelling with a mixture of joy and sorrow. It is not a full reunion, not yet. But in this small moment, the veteran knows that something has shifted. There is hope. There is a chance. And even if it takes time, he is willing to wait, willing to fight for the bond they once had. Because deep down, he knows that this dog, his dog, is still there. And maybe, just maybe, he will come back to him. The days following their small moment of reconnection feel like a delicate dance. The veteran continues to visit the shelter, each time bringing more hope and patience with him, yet also carrying the weight of uncertainty. With every passing day, he sees subtle improvements in the dog's behavior, but they are fleeting. A wag of the tail here, a moment of eye contact there. The bond they once shared is not restored in a single moment, but the small victories give the veteran something to hold on to, something to fight for. One morning, as the veteran walks into the shelter, the dog is sitting by the gate, waiting. For a moment, their eyes meet, and something in the air shifts. The soldier takes a cautious step forward, not wanting to overwhelm the dog. Slowly, he reaches out, and the dog stands up to meet him, taking a few hesitant steps in his direction. The tension is still there, the fear of rejection, the longing for recognition, but this time the soldier does not feel the need to rush. He knows the process will take time, and so they move at their own pace. The dog sniffs his hand, then rubs his head against the soldier's palm in a quiet, familiar gesture. The veteran's breath catches, a tear slipping down his cheek as he whispers the dog's name. It is not an outpouring of joy or triumph, but a soft acknowledgement of how far they have both come. Their connection is not what it once was, but it is something new, something that carries the weight of their shared history, their battles, and the moments they had together. The veteran understands now that healing is not a destination but a journey, one that requires patience, understanding, and a willingness to accept change. The dog, too, seems to have learned this lesson. He has grown emotionally, slowly finding his way back to the soldier, not as the war dog he once was, but as a companion in a new phase of life. Their walks are no longer about returning to the past. They are about moving forward, step by step together. The dog may never fully remember the soldier as he once did, but the bond between them is undeniable. It is a bond forged not just in shared experiences, but in the quiet, patient moments of reconnection. As the veteran looks down at his companion, he realizes that their journey together is not over. It will never be the same as it once was, but it does not have to be. There is peace in this understanding and knowing that both of them are evolving, learning how to heal, how to live in the present instead of clinging to the past. They are learning that second chances do not always mean returning to what was, but finding new ways to create meaning and connection. The veteran takes a deep breath, feeling a sense of relief wash over him. There is no dramatic resolution, no grand gesture, but in this quiet moment, in the soft rustle of the dog's fur against his hand, there is a profound sense of peace. He has not lost his companion. He has found a new version of their relationship, one that is built on trust, understanding, and the acceptance that time changes everything. But it does not erase what was once real. As they continue their walk through the shelter grounds, the veteran is reminded of the lesson they both have learned. Healing takes time, and bonds can be rebuilt, even if they are not the same as before. Life is full of unexpected changes, but with patience, loyalty, and the willingness to adapt, we can find our way through even the most difficult of transitions. In the distance, the volunteer who had been there from the beginning watches them, a soft smile on her face. She knows the journey they have taken, and she knows it is not over yet. But in this moment, it feels like enough. For the veteran and the dog, this is a new chapter, not one of perfection, but one of peace, of acceptance, and of the quiet understanding that they are no longer just two strangers crossing paths, but two beings who have fought for and found each other again. As they walk side by side, the dog's tail wags gently, and the soldier's steps grow steadier. They are not the same as they once were, but they are something better. Two souls, scarred but unbroken, moving forward together. The lesson, simple yet profound, is clear. Sometimes, the greatest victories are not the ones we expect, but the ones we find in the most unexpected of places. And sometimes the journey is worth it, even if the destination looks different than we imagined. As we've seen, the bond between a soldier and his loyal companion is unbreakable, no matter the time or distance that separates them. Healing takes time, patience, and love, and sometimes the greatest moments come when we least expect them. If you believe in the power of second chances, the strength of loyalty, and the importance of never giving up on those we love, then make sure to show your support. Like this video to honor the journey of this veteran and his dog, and don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming stories that remind us of the bonds we share with our pets. Share this story with friends and family who need a little reminder that love and loyalty never fade. They only grow stronger with time. Remember, sometimes the greatest victories are found in the quiet moments of reconnection. Join us for more inspiring stories, and let's continue celebrating the incredible bond between humans and animals.